Hello, I'm Roberta Twist, a former longtime New York City resident where I met my husband Chumley, who was the resident DJ at my local bar and nightclub in the West Village. Chumley's career began in the mid-1980s and flourished well into the first decade of the 2000s. In 2004, he and I bought our home in East Norwalk, Connecticut, and we regularly made the trip back and forth to the city to accommodate his work schedule. 20 years ago, more or less, he and I were exiting the West Side Highway onto Carmine Street when Chumley shouted at me, "Hey, pull over, stop!" And he had spotted the original Vinyl Mania neon sign that was outside their vacant storefront, and we picked it up off the curb, put it into the car. It eventually made its way back to Norwalk, where it hung in our basement for many years, a little worse for wear, but filled with rich history. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Vinyl Mania Records, here is owner Charlie Grappone to tell you the story behind one of New York City's most iconic record stores.
Hi, I'm Charlie Grappone. I was the owner of Vinyl Mania Records on Carmine Street in Greenwich Village for almost 30 years. I loved what I did my whole life. I loved being in the music business, and especially being involved with records. I started with records when I was 5 years old. I started buying 45 7-inch records, collected those, and as I got into my teens, I really got into the idea of vinyl albums. Actually, it started with the British invasion in like 1964 with the Beatles. So, going into the 70s, my wife Debbie and I, were living in the city, and I was working for the Board of Education. I was an elementary school teacher, and I also did adult education, specifically English as a second language. So I made my hobby of collecting records, I decided to turn it into a business. And we took a large part of my collection, and we found a small store on Carmine Street, which was 30 Carmine Street. That was the first location for $300 a month. And I continued working and doing the store sort of part-time. Now, I opened up the store basically as for the music that I liked, which I would say would be rock, some jazz, folk, things along that nature. I knew absolutely nothing about the DJ life. And what happened was, and I didn't even know it, my store on Carmine Street was located just 2 very short blocks from a very famous club called the Paradise Garage. And when we would go into the store on Saturday, which was one of my favorite days, because of course I didn't have to do any school teaching, we would get there early, and we noticed that there was a large group of people, maybe around 9:30, 10, up to 11 a.m. walking by the store. And I'm talking about long lines of guys, mostly guys, some girls also, that were coming from this club called the Paradise Garage. And they would come in and say to me, "Do you have any records that Larry plays?" And I had no idea who Larry was. And it turns out it was the DJ Larry Levan. They wanted 12-inch singles. So I said to Debbie, let's learn about this. I mean, we got all of these people come in asking for this stuff. Let's find out what it's about. Now, again, I knew nothing about dance music, DJing, or whatever. So the first thing I did was hire a guy. His name was Jose Bonilla, and he was a DJ from Brooklyn. And he played at a club called Trude Heller's, which was on 6th Avenue and 9th Street in the Village. He was recommended by Danny Crivet. And Jose had a lot of expertise in stuff I knew nothing about. Jose was in the first record pool with David Mancuso on the East Side. So since he was a working DJ, he was getting a lot of promotional records, which again, I knew nothing about. Now, I knew what promotional records were, but these records were very different in the respect that these records were made exclusively for DJs or radio people. So it would say promotional, not for sale on it. But it's not like walking into a store and seeing a record that might say promotional, not for sale on it, an album that the guy's selling as a promo. You had to be in a record pool to get these particular releases. So I started looking for people that maybe weren't going to use all of the releases they were getting in the record pool. And I started doing a big trade-in with these types of things. The popularity I got with that, I can't even explain. We were written up in Billboard magazine by a fella named Nelson George, who said there was a guy in the village selling dance music as collectible items. The store took off. I mean, we started getting people from the tri-state area like you wouldn't believe. I learned about imported records, which again made my store very unique. So I not only had the promotional thing going, I had the imports going, and once that article came out by Nelson George, I had DJs coming from all over the place. I made it a little bit unique by making them collectible, like I said before. We used to display the ones that we thought were very rare promotional items on wires in the store. And the example I always give is Linda Clifford's Runaway Love was $50 back whatever the year it was. And it started getting a lot of attention. And we ended up doing it for my whole career. We basically were known as a dance music store. We still had the rock store. We opened up a little jazz store. I had 5 stores going on Carmine Street back in the 80s for different genres of music. And like I said, I loved every day of going to work because now I had my hands in all different kinds of records, dealing with distributors, dealing with overseas people. It was a very interesting life for someone that really liked the product of vinyl records. We ended up closing the store in 2007. So we're closed almost 19 years now. And I'm happy to be part of this film that has a very unique story to it. In 2007, when we left the store, we emptied out the whole store, and there were certain things that I kind of left behind, kind of the awning, certain decorations that were in the store, and one of them was a Vinyl Mania neon sign. Now you say, why would you leave that there? It was kind of hooked up in a way in the window on Carmine Street where I couldn't get it down.
Earlier this year, while reading the New York Times, I came across an article about the New York Sign Museum and their mission to preserve the city's history through original signage. I contacted them to see if they might be interested in the Vinyl Mania sign. As avid vinyl collectors familiar with the legendary record store, the owner was enthusiastic about the donation. For those who have never been to the New York Sign Museum, here's founder David Barnett to tell us more.
I'm David Barnett, founder of the New York Sign Museum and co-owner of Noble Signs. We're here at 2465 Atlantic Avenue, and we just received this really cool Vinyl Mania sign. We started Noble Signs in 2013 with the mission of trying to keep New York City's vernacular signage styles alive. My background's in design and my partner is a fabricator. And part of that mission was really about studying the signs around us, and that led to us starting to save whatever signs we could. So it's been a long process of us collecting, but it was probably about 2018 that we had amassed so many signs, and we were trying to figure out why we were doing it. So we basically decided that the goal should be to open a museum, and this really has become my passion project. We applied for a 501c3 nonprofit, received that in 2021, and mostly had been doing the museum really just focusing on our collections mission behind the scenes, and had never opened it up to the public until about a year ago in October of 2024. We participated in an Open House New York event, and the response was amazing. And we had so many people reaching out to ask if they could they missed that weekend but wanted to schedule a tour, so we decided to start offering regular tours. And we've been doing that for, close to a year now. And the tours are available just a couple days a week because we're operating them out of our working studio. I think what I've really learned from the project is just like how much these signs mean to people and how much the importance of small business in our daily lives, and how much seeing these businesses and their signs that reflect the sign maker and the business owner and the personal characteristics of those New Yorkers, how much meaning that brings to our daily life to have that human expression in our streetscape. And the work that these small business owners did, it really impacted so many people's lives. So really, I think what's come into focus for us is that obviously we're saving the signs because they're beautiful, and from a design standpoint, there's so much you can learn from them. But I think really the bigger mission is to preserve those stories of the people that own these businesses, the people that went there, and the people that made the signs for them as well, because those are real New York stories. And, once they're gone forever.
I felt badly about donating broken neon to the sign museum, so I began to search for a shop that could restore the sign. Repairing vintage neon is no easy task and requires specialized skills, so I was thrilled to find Neon Spectacular right here in Norwalk. The shop's proprietor, Cody Schaefer, is a vinyl collector himself and was also familiar with the sign museum, having worked with them before. He very kindly agreed to repair the sign pro bono. Our next step was to drop the sign off for inspection and evaluation.
Okay, so we have Vinyl Mania Records here, and it's a window sign. I would guess it is from the 1980s. It's mounted on a piece of acrylic, and it's a little interesting the way that they poked the electrodes through the acrylic. Usually on a sign like this, they would just put them right parallel to the back of the tube. So it's a fun piece. It's broken, so we're gonna have to, we could do a repair on this because what they did with this color is they put neon gas in a tube that would traditionally have argon gas. So this is a neo blue. It would typically be a nice deep blue, but they put neon gas in it, and they made a color that would, my old boss would have called it fuchsia. So fortunately, that means we can repair the tube and bring it back to life. There could be a little bit of slight discoloration with the new pieces of the glass that we're going to fuse on there, but I think it'll stay fun. And perhaps we'll add a new power supply, and we'll see if we can brighten up this neon a little bit, because it's a little bit on the dim side. But yeah, it's a fun piece, and looking forward to getting it back up for David over there at Noble Signs and their New York Sign Museum.
Several weeks later, we were invited back to watch the restoration.
So we have this pattern made from the piece, and I've cut off some of the broken ends already and prepared the glass, wiped out some of the pattern. Sometimes when the glass breaks, there's something called powder loss. So this does have a little bit of powder loss. We'll see when we pump it, it'll be very red in some areas where the bends are, where the powder came out. But that's okay, it just gives it a little more character. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and bend the VI and the L and attach this all together, add electrodes, pump it, and we'll be back in business. we cut the glass with a file. You score the glass tube and you break it, and it just takes time to get a hang of it, you know, so you don't have to go sawing at the glass. And your worst friend as a glass blower is a dull file. You have to make sure your file is sharp, or else you're gonna set yourself up for an awful day. I use a blow hose when I blow the glass here with the neon tubing, because as I go and I heat up the glass and I bend it, like for example at a 90-degree angle, it wants to close in on itself, or it becomes narrow. And our goal is to keep the glass wall consistent size. So if you're bending a 12mm tube, you want it to be 12mm all the way through. And we achieve that by, after taking it out of the fire and making the bend, you puff a couple of puffs of air into it, and you can visually see the bend expanding. And that again takes time to learn. Don't puff too hard, don't puff too soon, you blow out your glass and you mess up the whole thing, start over again. So I've been working in neon for over 10 years, blowing glass probably for about 7 or 8 years. It gets easier as you do more and you expand your knowledge on it. Okay, so I'm putting some gas in the tube here, nice and easy. All right, here's the moment of truth. You ready? There it is. Looks good to me. So let's hook this up. Here it is.
Now repaired, the next step was to transport it and deliver it to the Sign Museum in Brooklyn. Chumley and I are happy and proud that this small but important piece of New York City history lives on and is on display for so many to enjoy for years to come.